Good morning. Welcome to another edition of MIW. Got the D-Man here, and I'm glad you could join me today. I noticed when I was looking through my videos that people enjoyed the LTR video I did about long-term relationships. So I found a little information on the internet here, and we are going to go through it, and I will give you some more tips, clues, information about how to have a good LTR. I may not agree with all this, but if I don't, I'll tell you. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, leave a comment in the comment section. And this video will come out on YouTube, so you can finish watching the rest of it on, what day? The 17th of December, I believe. So here we go. Without further ado, be together for the right reasons. There you go. And you may ask, Mark, what are the right reasons? I can think of some of the wrong reasons, and I've done it for some of the wrong reasons. But we'll move on from there. Let's read. Don't ever be with someone because someone else pressured you to. I got married for the first time because I was raised Catholic, and that's what you're supposed to do. Wrong. I got married the second time because I was miserable and lonely and thought having a loving wife would fix everything for me. Also wrong. Took me 3 tries to figure out what should have been obvious from the beginning. The only reason you should ever be with the person you're with is because you simply love being around them. It's really that simple. Okay, when I sent out my request to readers for advice, that's dangerous asking that many people for advice, but you get some good points of view. Just don't take them all. What works for some people may not work well for others. You have to try these things and see how they work for you. Don't believe anyone, even me. Try it, see if it works. Okay, I asked people who were on their second or third or fourth marriages, I've had 4, what they did wrong the first few times. I don't necessarily know what I did wrong. I mean, I don't like the term, what you did wrong. I made mistakes, and everyone does. Even in successful relationships, you're going to make mistakes. Learn from those mistakes. If you got divorced or your marriage failed, or however you want to look at it, there is some success in there. Have you learned from it? I don't believe in failure in respects to saying that it's failure, like you failed. If you learned something from it, then it's not a failure. If you didn't learn anything from it, then maybe you can say it's a failure. Okay, and that's with anything, not just relationships, marriages, friendships, anything. Business. I've had, how many failed businesses have I had? Several. We won't go there, but I have, and I learned from them. Today I have 3 successful businesses. I think 3. Do I count my book as a business? Anyway, let's move on. Okay. By far the most common answer was being with the person for the wrong reasons. I don't think I've ever been with anybody for the wrong reasons. Maybe one night stand, but that maybe not was a wrong reason either. Okay, some of these wrong reasons included pressure from friends and family. I've never experienced that one. Feeling like a loser because they're single and settling for the first person that came along. No, never had that one either. Although I have felt like a loser in my life. Being together for image because the relationship looked good on paper or in photos, not because the 2 people actually admired each other. I've never experienced that one either. Being young and naive and hopelessly in love, thinking that love would solve everything. I have been naive and hopelessly in love, but it wasn't because I was young. Although it's happened before, even when I was younger. Okay, let's move along here. Everything that makes a relationship work, and by work I mean that it is happy and sustainable for both people involved, requires a genuine, deep-level admiration for each other. Without that mutual admiration, everything else will unravel. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you from my own personal experience. If your life is not better with the girl you're with, then you're better off by yourself. If she is not a compliment to your life, then why are you with her? If your life isn't improving, or you're not moving ahead with your goals and your vision, if she doesn't encourage you and inspire you to be more, to be better, you don't need to be with her. If she is dragging you down, if she has constantly got drama going on, or she's out partying all the time and you're wondering about her, or you're wondering if she's with another man, all these things drain your energy. If you are in a relationship like that, you need to step away and take a look at yourself and ask yourself why you got involved in a situation like that. What is it inside of you that makes you feel like you deserve something like that? Okay, first off, if you take a step away from it and back off, then you're telling yourself that, hey, I'm better than that, I deserve better than that, I am more valuable than that. Then you need to look within yourself and find out what the reasons were that you allowed yourself to get into that relationship, that you became emotionally involved with that person. And there may not be any wrong reasons, or that you made any mistakes, other than the fact that maybe you should have backed off or broken away from it sooner when you saw the first red flags that it was going in that direction. The problem is with us men, we become sexually involved with a girl, and then we become emotionally tied to her before we really know what kind of girl she is. And then when we start seeing the red flags, we kind of, oh, well, you know, everybody makes mistakes. I'm not going to find a perfect woman. And you're not. But some of these red flags are pretty glaring. What's the old joke? More red flags than a Japanese or a Chinese battleship, something like that. But anyway, the point is, once we become emotionally attached to this girl, it's harder to step away. As where before, if we first met her, we weren't having sex with her, and she did something that maybe today we'll accept, we wouldn't have accepted it early on. We make concessions because we like the way she makes us feel physically. And that goes nowhere, I'm telling you. Eventually, I don't care how beautiful she is, and I've been with some beautiful girls, you will get tired of her crap, and you will eventually walk away. Why not do it earlier instead of when you're so attached that it kind of breaks your heart and it's difficult? But always be willing to walk away. Even in marriage, like I said, I've been married 4 times. Now, do I think I've had 4 failed marriages? Well, if you consider staying together as being a successful marriage, then yes, you could say I failed. I had many years of success, and I'm going to tell you from my experience and from what I have read of other people's experiences is, whenever she knew that I could walk away, they would say things to me like, well, if I died, you would just go on. Well, of course I would. I would be sad, but I would manage. But if they ever thought that I would be broken or heartbroken or how do I say it, really crushed if they left me, that's when they felt like they had the power and they started trying to run the show, set the frame, tell me what to do, and then comes the conflict. That doesn't work. Women have to step into your frame. It's been that way for eons, and 60 years of women's liberation is not going to change that. It's not. Are women out there running the oil rigs? Are women out there creating inventions? This world was made by men. Of course, their argument is, well, they destroy it, they have the wars, they have the fights. That's probably true. But we conquered this nation, and every nation it's been since the beginning of time, the men made it livable for the women and the children. The men gave their lives for the women and the children. Women are here to serve men. Oh, that sounds terrible, I know, if you're a woman. But in respects to that, men are here to protect and provide for the woman. Okay, a lot of women think, well, I don't need a man to protect and provide for me. In today's society in the U.S., that is true. But when she's at home by herself and the police can't get there in 2 seconds, I'll guarantee you she'll be wishing she had a man there when the burglar breaks in the door. So you tell me. If you're a man, that is your job. If you're out walking down the street and someone tries to assault you or your woman, you've got to be man enough to stand up to that person. The police are not going to be walking beside you unless you are fortunate enough that you can hire a full-time bodyguard. I have had a bodyguard for one of my girlfriends that lived in another country, but even that, you can't count on that either. Okay, so better you than a bodyguard. The point is, that's your job as a man, to protect and provide for that woman, regardless of whether she thinks she needs it or she thinks she wants it. She does need it and she does want it, even though she may not realize it consciously. She has been programmed with that through eons of evolution. Her reptilian brain seeks that. That's why if you're a simp, whether you're married or in a relationship or whatever, or you've conceded to her demands, death by 1,000 concessions, put the socks in here. Honey, put your glass in this side of the sink. Those little things. You're a man. If you want to put your glass in there, don't do it. If you want to do it, do it. The point is, be a man. Be the man of the house, be the king of the house, and rule your kingdom with, integrity and authority and love. Simple as that. Be the leader. Someone has to lead. Doesn't mean you have to be a domineering jerk. You just have to lead. If you don't do it, she'll take on the role and she will resent you with a seething hate that you won't like. And she will go out and look for a real man that's strong enough to lead her, because you're not doing it. You're being a simp. You are conceding to her demands. Don't do that. It doesn't end well. I've experienced that too. Okay, the other wrong reason to enter a relationship is, like Greg said, to fix yourself. Fix yourself without a woman. The desire to use the love of someone else to soothe your own emotional problems. I may have done that unknowingly before. Inevitably leads to codependence, an unhealthy and damaging dynamic between two people where there exists a agreement to use each other's love as a distraction from one's own self-loathing. We'll get more into codependence later, but for now, it's useful to point out that love itself is neutral. It is something that can be both healthy or unhealthy, helpful or harmful, depending on why and how you love someone else and are loved by someone else. By itself, love is never enough to sustain a relationship. I agree with that 100%. Okay, 2. Have realistic expectations about relationships and romance. You are absolutely not going to be gaga over each other every single day for the rest of your lives. And all this happily ever after BS, I'll say it that way, to be YouTube compliant, is just setting people up for failure. They go into relationships with these unrealistic expectations. Then the instant they realize they aren't gaga anymore, they think the relationship is broken and over and they need to get out. No, there will be days or weeks or even maybe longer when you aren't all mushy, gushy in love. Amazing. And that is true. Love is an action. It's not a feeling. Maybe it's a feeling, but it's an action. It's an action. You make acts of love even when you don't feel like it. Do you feel like going down and confronting the criminal who just broke in your front door to protect your wife and kids? Of course not. You feel like running because you're afraid, but you don't. Because you love your family, you risk your life. That's right. That's love. Not this, I'm so in love. Are you? Are you in love? Look in the mirror. Do you love what you see when you look in the mirror? If you don't, you can't love someone else, because obviously you can't transmit something you haven't got. If you don't have self-love, you can't truly love anyone else. Do that mirror work, as I have been speaking about. It's so vitally important for yourself. Moving on. Okay, you're even going to wake up some morning and think, ugh, you're still here? Yeah, I've experienced that one. Okay. That's normal. And more importantly, sticking it out is totally worth it, because in a day or a week or maybe even longer, you'll look at that person and a giant wave of love will inundate you, flood you. And you'll love them so much you think your heart can't possibly hold it all and it's going to burst. Don't tell her that, okay? Don't do that. That's the stuff they show in movies and on TV shows. Don't do it. Feel it, enjoy it, but don't tell her. Some of you may disagree with that, but trust me. Okay. Show her by providing and protecting. Men should talk less, act more. Women talk more, act less. Yeah, we won't go into that. Okay. Because a love that's alive is also constantly evolving and growing, expanding. Everything in the universe expands, and your relationship will expand or it will die. There is no neutral. You are either expanding or contracting. You can't rest. And if you're trying to rest, you are becoming stagnant. Like a glass of water that sits there. It becomes stagnant. And after a period of time, you don't want to drink it. And if you become stagnant after a period of time, she will not want to drink you or be with you or look at you. But she will find someone who she wants to be with and look at. Okay. Love that's alive is also constantly evolving. It expands and contracts and mellows and deepens. It's not going to be the way it used to be or the way it will be. And it shouldn't be. I think if more couples understood that, they'd be less inclined to panic and rush to break up or divorce. Simple solution nowadays for a temporary problem. Or a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Easy for, especially nowadays in the U.S., for women to think, you know what, I don't have to put up with this. So I can take the kids, I can get welfare, or I can get child support, I can get housing, or I can take this house, which my husband has worked hard for. I can let him see the kids every other weekend, I can get a boyfriend to move in, and I am set. Yeah, and that's the big lie too, because they don't end up happier. And they have double problems. They create more problems by not staying in the relationship and working to be a better wife. And he needs to be leading. I'm not blaming the woman. It's both. But the man needs to lead. Actually, you as a man are responsible for the atmosphere of the relationship or the environment of the relationship in your home. You are responsible for that. So if your marriage goes to hell, and I've had some go to hell, I can look back and see where I was not leading. I became beta-tized to a certain degree until I got enough of it, then I went off on her. And then it was fighting, and I let it go on too far, and eventually I walked away. Once they think they can control you, it's very hard, and they start controlling you, and you allow it to happen. Even though you don't realize, you think you're compromising, you're going along to get along. Once that starts, it's really hard to reel things back in. So that's why you have to be vigilant in controlling the frame in your relationship. Very important. You think getting into a relationship is easier? It's much, much easier being single, or being single and spinning plates, having several different women, not becoming, let's say, attached to some woman. Very, very important to figure out what it is you want and what you're willing to put the effort out to achieve and to maintain. Okay, in ancient times, people genuinely considered love a sickness. Yeah, we've all heard of being lovesick. Parents warned their children against it, and adults quickly arranged marriages before their children were old enough to do something dumb on the back of their out-of-control emotions. What we don't realize today in modern society is until about 150 years ago, people did not marry for love. They married for convenience or for logical reasons. They didn't marry because I'm so in love. I'm in love. This is all modern day movies, TV, social constructs. These are all inventions of the idealistic Cinderella relationship, Prince Charming, and all that. That's because love, though able to make us feel giddy and high, which it does, it has me, as though we had snorted a shoebox full of cocaine. If you've never snorted cocaine, I'm not much for cocaine. It does make you feel pretty good for a while, but the depression afterwards, kind of like a relationship that doesn't go good. That'll make you feel excellent for it. When you're in love, everything is great. But then when things go to hell, you are depressed, just like when the coke runs out. Okay, it can also make us highly irrational. Well, I've been there too. We all know that guy or girl who dropped out of school, sold their car, and spent the money to elope on the beaches of Tahiti. We all also know that the same guy or girl and how they ended up skulking back a few years later feeling like a moron, not to mention broke. I have lost everything several times, not because I fell madly in love. Actually, the last marriage I had, I married the girl for practical reasons. I didn't have sex with her before I married her. I kind of did it like in a biblical way, like a Christian way. I wanted to try something different. Hey, but I made it 12 years that time, so. But the problem, I did it too quickly. I didn't vet her well. She was probably one of the, how do I say, one of the most established liars that I had ever been with. So for 5 years, like my whole marriage was a lie. She was a pretty good mother for the first 5, 6, 7 years, but I couldn't believe anything she said. It was amazing. So I didn't vet her well. Once again, my fault or my responsibility. Okay, here's one that I didn't know till about a year ago. Romeo and Juliet is not a love story. It's a 3-day relationship between a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old that caused 6 deaths. 6 deaths. Sincerely, everyone who actually read it, yeah. That's a story about unbridled love, uncontrolled passions and emotions. Yeah, that's what happens. Love is like a drug, or lust, or the desire, the emotional attraction we have for women is like a drug. And you have got to be very, very careful with that, because people kill each other over it. Domestic calls, emergency calls for the police here in the U.S., that's where most people get killed. That's where most of the violence is in domestic situations where the husband and the wife, the boyfriend, girlfriend is fighting. Just the other night, right over here, the police came, took the guy to jail because she called and said, well, he found out she was being with some other guy, and she said he grabbed her by the hair or whatever, and when the police got there, he said, take me away, I'm ready to go, get me away from this crazy woman. So there you go, a domestic, very dangerous situation. I could name off a few other ones that I have seen too. I've been involved in a couple of crazy domestic situations. I had my wife call the police on me. My ex-wife called the police on me one time. And you know what I told her? I said, don't worry, I'm going up there. So I went there. No problem. I was out in a couple hours. They just made me sit around there for a little while. Was I beating on her? No, I wasn't. But they can say whatever they want to say. And the police come to your house, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take the man. Because they got to take somebody. So if they don't, somebody gets hurt, they're responsible. And on that note, we're going to stop. Smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I hope this has been of help to you. I like this article. I think we're going to work on this again some more. And have a great day. Thanks for joining me.